Hi, everyone. I'm back to video because I know some of you have started into the coursework. And by coursework, I mean week one. You've dropped your stories into the introductory week and you've done your cumulative B quiz, and now you're into the coursework. And I wanted to offer kind of a video before you dive into that coursework, just maybe a place to take some notes. Again, it's just the screen. Unfortunately, I don't think YouTube videos allow me to do anything like I did with Adobe Connect, which is pull up documents and show you exemplars. So it's unfortunately me talking, but I think it's important to not just watch the video, but maybe start to take some notes so that when you are engaging with the content, you have some reminders about what I'm saying with regards to how to complete the assignment, and then what it is I'm looking for when I do the marking. So with week one, you are going to be reading a story entitled Horses of the Night. What I want to offer in terms of the structure of the course is you're going to notice that the course is built around starting off with 5 or 6 short stories, and then we move into longer text towards the end of the course. I'm a big believer in short stories because we are able to learn so many skills without becoming overburdened with the length of the reading. So what that means is in the course that I built for you, essentially what I am having you do is I'm front loading. Front loading means I'm hitting you with a lot of skills that you have to learn at the beginning of the course. And then essentially, once you started understanding those skills, you're going to be repeating them over and over again. So for instance, this week you're introduced to something called say, mean, matter, and it's going to seem super foreign, and it tends to be the thing students most struggle with. And then you're going to be doing it the entire semester to give you the opportunity to master it. So the expectation of mastering something in week one, please lower your expectations for yourself, give yourself a break, and understand that I've built a course where there should be growth. It shouldn't feel easy. It should feel challenging, but not impossible. Um, so when you're reading Horses of the Night, I noticed in some of the goals for some of you that you wrote in your getting to know you discussion. Please be mindful that I haven't responded to those because there's going to be something like over 90. But I have read everything that's posted there so far. I really take note of what some of your goals are and what you're looking to accomplish. And I noticed for quite a few of you, you talked about developing your critical thinking skills and developing your writing. So probably like you've heard since first grade, reading is where you develop your critical thinking. That is unequivocally, research shows it. Reading and writing, especially writing, activates every single part of the brain. And there are very few activities that actually ignite every part of the brain. Math and writing tend to be those two things. Now, how do we improve our writing? We improve our writing by improving our reading. That's how it goes. It's very rare that you would have a student have 90% in their writing and 30% in their reading. Usually that would happen if there's some kind of learning disability or learning challenge. What tends to happen is our reading and writing are aligned. We have to improve them both at the same time. So here I've given you a short story, and your first assignment is a reading comprehension activity. Now, there's a few ways you can do that. You can answer the questions at a very basic level. What's the setting of the story? What's the conflict, man versus man versus himself? That's satisfactory. It's valid and it's correct, but it's satisfactory. How we develop our critical thinking is allowing ourselves to actually think about the question for a longer period of time. And then we have to find ways to support our response. So if a question, for instance, is, what is the primary conflict of Horses of the Night? Well, we could say the primary conflict of Horses of the Night is man versus himself. And I would give you a point, but I wouldn't give you a lot of points. Yeah, develop that response. In other words, yes, there are conflicts with society, and there are conflicts with the environment, and there are conflicts within family, and these are all playing into the story. However, what they are doing are just exemplifying Chris's real struggle with himself and the kind of person that he is and the kind of person that he wants to be. Great. That's a better response. Still not amazing, but it's better. There's some development in there. You're demonstrating some critical thinking. You're showing me how you are thinking about the story. An even stronger response would be an example to demonstrate this is when Chris says, now you're starting to incorporate evidence into your responses. Evidence and explanation, meaning analysis, are what I'm looking for. So when we think about reading comprehension or really anything in the course, I want you to kind of think about this. Tammy's evaluating me based on, that's a valid response. Satisfactory, that's a 60, meaning the response is correct, but it's quite general. She's also, if I want to move into the 70s or 80s, what she's looking for is some thoughtfulness. So therefore, there needs to be some development, so length, and some, maybe we're still stating things that are obvious, but there's a little bit more insight. And there's definitely the presentation of evidence, evidence meaning direct quotations from the text. Now, if you're not sure how to incorporate direct quotations into the text, there are so many videos that you can find. Just type in quote integration or direct quotes. I've tried to incorporate some of that stuff into the video, but students tend to really struggle with that. And that's a skill you need to try to master right away. How do I incorporate direct evidence from a text into my own writing? How do I weave that fluidly so I'm not creating fragments and grammatical errors and run-on sentences? An excellent response is when I say, wow, the student not only developed their response, so there's length and meat into what they're saying. They are not just devolving into plot summary. They're giving me a bit of plot and then they're analyzing it. They're talking about symbolism, foreshadowing, irony, imagery, personification. They're talking about all the figurative elements that go into building a story. And then they're utilizing evidence maybe more than once in their responses. So in short, what that means is even though the reading comprehension exercise itself might seem easy, it's in the quality of what you offer me that I'm grading. So I can't talk to you in class like we would in a traditional classroom. So I'm relying on you to demonstrate your critical thinking on paper. You never want to leave me feeling like, oh man, could the student have given me more? I don't know because I've never spoken to them. So I have to rely on what's in front of me. You want to show me your best critical thinking there. So that means in terms of development, in terms of evidence, and it means in terms of analysis. So that's for reading comprehension and anything you do, but I kind of talked about a little more focused on reading comprehension there. When you move into say, mean, matter, there's lots of stuff I've incorporated in there. But what I notice for students where they struggle the most in the past is they don't struggle with say. When I ask you to find me some say, that just means find me some what literally happened in the text. So think about say as this is what literally happened. Chris went off to war. That happened. It's a fact. That's say. That's just plot. Meaning is the figurative dimension. This symbolizes, this foreshadows, this demonstrates, this implies. You're now taking the plot and you're adding some interpretation to it. Your level of interpretation is what demonstrates your critical thinking. Now, can your interpretation be wrong? Yes, but I'd rather you take some risks in interpreting because more often you'll be right than not give me any interpretation. Because in 30-1, just being able to pull out the plot is 50% and lower. It's in your interpretation and in your analysis of text where the marks lie. So say is plot, meaning is adding some dimension and interpretation to the plot. Matter is where students struggle. Matter is when we say, we read this short story. What was the author teaching us? The author wasn't teaching us about Chris. In 20 years from now, I'm not going to remember the character of the story. But what I might remember is what I learned from the story. Matter, when we move from say to mean to matter, is why does this story matter? What are some themes that I can pull out? So when you get to that third column for that exercise, I shouldn't see any evidence from the text. I shouldn't see the name Chris. I shouldn't see the name Vanessa. I should see things like, one might offer that in Horses of the Night, an individual, when faced with mental illness, um, might not be able to survive their circumstance. Notice that I didn't talk about Chris. I'm thinking about Chris because I'm thinking about what did I learn from Chris. But in that third column, we're pulling out thematic statements. That's what we're doing, and it requires some practice. And you might pull out thematic statements that are valid, and over time, you're going to develop those into insightful, critical, specific, unique thematic statements. So the whole course is designed around building your critical thinking. You might not get it right away, but just be mindful that I know that, and I've structured the course to help you develop those skills. I'm trying to think what else is for the week. Everything is tied to that one story, because as I've said, in writing, the quality of reading will determine your writing. That is how you're going to have a stronger piece of writing. So sometimes when I give a 60 on an essay, students will say, "Oh my God, how do I improve that?" And I often say, go back to the story. You didn't understand the story in detail. You only understand the story superficially. And so the writing demonstrates that. When we understand a story at a very high level, then we have more to work with in the writing. In terms of you're not writing a full essay this week, you're writing an introduction and a body paragraph. I have included an example. I want you to follow the structure of that example. You don't have to deviate from it. So in that introduction, if there is 5 sentences that give a thematic statement, I want you to have 5 sentences with a thematic statement. If there's a thesis, I need you to have a thesis. In the body paragraph, if you notice it's almost a page long, I want yours to be a page long. You want to try to use the example to push yourself to mimic the example. We learn how to write from mimicking great writers. So those are there for you to use so that you can follow the structure. Anything else? Hit me up with questions, emails, videos, whatever you want. I will see you soon.